everyone, my name is Phan, and today I'll be talking about the quiet activists. So on February 5th this year, Angie Thomas, the author of New York Times bestseller, The Hate U Give book, visited our campus for the convocation. In her talk, she emphasized that we could no longer be silent in the face of injustices. Or in the words of Associate Academic Dean at Earlham College, James Logan in his mass incarceration and moral vision classes, silence is a form of violence. I want to first point out my complete agreement with the topic of, with these statements and make a distinction with the topic of my talk. Today, I want to talk about the people who are quiet in their voices in public exposures, but use their passion for justice to fight in alternative ways. I remember when I first came to Earlham 3.5 years ago, and like all first years, I was trying to navigate the dynamics of the college. I soon learned that there are different definitions of being cool to cater to our diverse campus. You can either be the party people, the artsy souls, the sociable athletes, or the high-achieving students. But there was one particular group that caught my attention above all. They were the social activists, people who spoke up against systematic oppression and helped to make the world a better place. Being an international student whose single goal in life at that point was just to get the perfect score, the social activist students were so cool. But then it dawned on me that I might not make it into that group. Everyone seemed so outspoken, sociable, and not afraid to project their voices. At that time, I was quiet and shy, whose single goal was just to fit in and blend into the background. Even today, upon the mentioning of the word social activism, we often think of prominent speakers whose faces represent movements like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., or the people who are on the streets campaigning, or the people who are active on social media. While their participation in the success of the movements are beyond questioning, our immediate association of a certain personality type implies our misperception that only extroverts and outspoken individuals can be activists, excluding the other half of the population. This is especially relevant at Earlham, a place known and loved for its relentless dedication to social justice among the student body. Many of us use our bodies for protests, sit-ins, and walkouts to make a statement for change, or use our online presence through social media to raise awareness. However, many students may feel excluded from this tradition as they do not associate their personality, quiet and calm, with the culturally defined profile of the activists. So, I'm here today with almost 4 years of growth to challenge that by talking about the influential figures throughout my life, the ones that inspired me, a once timid and shy, into social activism. In my very first semester that I came to Earlham College, I offered my videography and design skills to Eye for Inclusion, a team of 12 upper class participating in the peer-to-peer combating violent extremism competition organized by the US Department of Homeland Security. Our overarching goal was to tackle hate speech and media illiteracy to stop fake news. And to be honest, at that time, I did not think much of my participation in this project because I was more involved with the, technical part of delivering our message. There were 5 others of us who were the faces of this project, the ones going out there doing presentations and talking to people. And they ultimately represented us in Washington, D.C. when Eye for Inclusion became the winners. This is where the first influential figure of my life enters. Michelle Tong, a professor in psychology and neuroscience that used to teach here. Yes, Michelle knows I'm talking about her. And no, she does not know that her photo is being projected onto this giant screen. In 2017, Michelle wrote an article called Making Room for the Dean's List Subversives, where there was one sentence acknowledging my role in the Eye for Inclusion team. The line reads, "Nor was my thoughtful Vietnamese student silent when she lent her videography, photography, and design skills in the winning team in the national competition of ideas for combating violent extremism." It is amazing how that one sentence made me feel seen, changed my life, and ultimately inspired my talk today. In the following years, I started working with Gene Hambrick, a global management professor, my second influential figure. Everyone who knows Gene knows that he's not a low-key person. He's so good at marketing that he technically lives it. But what people might not know about Gene are all the projects that he plans, creates, and pushes forwards. From funding for students to sustainability efforts, Jean drives 40 minutes to campus every day, coming in at 6 a.m. even on Sundays to make sure that as many opportunities are available to students as possible. Quiet activism in this case isn't just for reserved people. It's also for people who are dedicating their time towards social justice. Social activism are more than just speaking up and calling out people. There are a lot of organizational parts to it behind the scenes. Speaking up is the first step. In order to be heard, there needs to be a lot of preparations and follow-ups. And this is where the unnoticed work comes in. There are a lot of us out there, reflective individuals who can project our voices but choose to take an alternative route, addressing injustices without the publicity. They're known as quiet activists, whose passion for justice burns as fiercely as any of their other outspoken peers. They need no acknowledgement and often receive none. Yet, because of this tendency, they're unable to represent their side of activism. Throughout my time at Earlham, influential figures are more than just professors, but it's also the brilliant peers I had the chance to get to know and become friends with. I think of Annika when she created an event to help students process how global news impacted their lives to the event Processing Global Struggles. I think of Leanne when she created the Asian and Asian American House to help people navigate the intersectionality of their identity. I think of Rihanna, who spent her time creating a team for Peace and Justice Week by recognizing other people's work before leaving for off-campus study. I think of Nadine, who tried her best to educate people on the Baha'i faith while still embracing others' beliefs. I think of Olivia, who used her knowledge and understanding of systematic oppression to help people understand as a teaching assistant. And I think of Evan and the group of faculty and students and staff who are working every day towards making an Earlham carbon negative. And finally, I think of all the organizers behind this TEDx event that gave us a platform to deliver our message. These are just some of the people I know. You may have never heard of them, but that doesn't matter. What matters is that there are people out there fighting injustices without the acknowledgement. Have you thought about the people who did all the organizational work behind the scenes? Like Margaret Hamilton, an Earlham alum who pioneered software engineering that resulted in the Apollo moon landing that went into history. Have you thought about all the people that risked their lives for the community, like the doctors and nurses who volunteered to help out in Wuhan in the midst of the COVID-19 epidemic? Have you thought of yourself or your friends who've sacrificed their time doing something just? If you can think of an instance, props to you. Continue what you're doing because it's so vital for change. I got to know about this concept of a college within a college, mirrored after the term A Nation Within a Nation by W.E.B. Du Bois, to tell and talk about an informal system created by underrepresented communities to support one another. When I did not have enough money to attend my on-campus interview in New York for a PhD program, a group of faculty of color, whose name I cannot reveal, personally pitched in so that I could have the chance to attend. They did not know whether I'd get in, and they didn't need to. They only cared that I should get access to that opportunity, and that they've been doing this work for more than 10 years. Looking back at the past 4 years, in my Zimbra email, there's a folder called Emails I Love, where I save all the encouragements I've received throughout the years. And here are the photos of all the people whom the emails were from. Again, they didn't really know I put their photos up there, so unless someone runs on stage to tackle me, there's no stopping me. But on a more serious note, there's been tremendous growth, and for me, I guess, throughout my time at Earlham. I became a little less quiet. I started to speak up, and I started to engage in conflicts that I deemed constructive and necessary. And to be honest, sometimes I'm not sure if I like who I've become. I'm afraid that people won't like me anymore. But is it really worth it being liked by everyone in order to let discrimination and microaggression to happen? So what do these influential figures throughout my time at Earlham teach me about quiet activism? There are 3 things I can think of on the top of my head. First, We need to redefine what activism should look like. In addition to outspoken individuals who are doing impactful work out there, I think it's also time for us to redefine activism and see it in a broader perspective and leveraging our differences. Second, you can fight against injustices in a lot of ways. You can either choose to take space and be heard, or you can choose to create space through quiet activism. Do what's comfortable for you, but also try and find a balance of both. Finally, there's so much power in giving acknowledgement. Michelle Tong's one single sentence in her article, Making Room for a Dean's List Subversives, changed my life in so many ways. If you're seeing your friends or someone out there dedicating their time towards social justice, give them a little words of encouragement. There are so many issues that we need to tackle in the world today. So let's keep our passion burning and foster a community through diverse approaches as its residents. I'll be graduating this year, which is in 2 months. I applied for PhD programs that aim to address hidden conflicts and racial tensions within all types of organizations. During the interview for one of my PhD programs, I had the chance to talk about my role in I for Inclusion, my quiet work in social activism, and the professors that inspired me to become one in the future. At the end of the interview, they asked me what I plan to do with a PhD, and I told them that I want, remembering the words of Angie Thomas and James Logan about making the political personal, I told them that I want to make people uncomfortable. You see, if I did not elaborate on that, I don't think it would have ended really well. What I meant is that I want to use discomfort to guide people out of their safety bubble, see systematic oppression, and be part of change. And I plan to do it as a social activist, both through quiet and outspoken means. Thank you.